Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is pumping based on the spot Bitcoin ETFs getting very close to approval, and right now the price is pumping into the final area of resistance that we have before new all-time highs. And on top of that, Ethereum is now reversing after hitting the exact price target in the short term that I talked about yesterday, and on top of that, Solana is still bouncing in the short term from this critical short-term support, which I'll talk about later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just giving you a quick update here on the daily Bitcoin chart, and right now, this previous bearish divergence has now been invalidated here on the daily time frame. Because like I said in my last video, if we end up seeing a new higher high confirm in the daily candle closes in the price, that will basically invalidate this bearish divergence. But obviously, the price is still forming higher highs, while the RSI, at least for now, is still forming lower highs, which obviously means it's still possible we could form a new bearish divergence, but ultimately that new potential bearish divergence would have to reconfirm. We would have to reconfirm this new bearish divergence. And so at least as of right now, once again, we have a possible bearish divergence still forming, but no bearish divergence right now is confirmed on the daily time frame. And so as of right now, we are currently looking more bullish than bearish. And obviously this entire time, I have remained bullish on the trend in the price of Bitcoin, obviously expecting higher lows and higher highs because the DXY or US dollar index has been in a bearish trend since around the beginning of October. And right now, the DXY has not yet confirmed any bullish reversal signals because we have not yet confirmed any significant higher lows or higher highs here in the DXY. And so once again, while the DXY is technically still within a bearish trend, like I've been saying this entire time, I'm still bullish on the price of Bitcoin in terms of the trend on the daily time frame. But obviously, during a bullish trend, we can experience small short-term pullbacks here and there and sideways consolidations like what we saw over the last few weeks. But once again, that can occur within a bullish trend. And so as always, it is important to understand the difference between the different timeframes. Once again, we can see short-term bearish moves on small timeframes, but remain bullish, for example, in a trend here on the daily timeframe. But even here on the daily timeframe, we can see multiple trend reversals from bearish to bullish and back to bearish and back to bullish again, as you can see. And so basically, these are kind of the shorter term or mid-term trends in the price of Bitcoin. But if you zoom out to a much larger time frame, like the weekly time frame, we can see the much longer term trends, the larger trends on the larger time frames. And these much larger trends on the weekly chart, for example, are basically the bear market and the bull market. And obviously, since the very beginning of last year, around a year ago, below 20K, I started flipping much more bullish again on the larger trend on the price of Bitcoin. You can even check my videos back then. And so once again, over this past 1 year, I've been bullish this entire time on the larger trend on the weekly time frame. And right now, the price of Bitcoin is running into this golden pocket area of resistance on the weekly time frame based on the linear settings for the Fibonacci retracement tool. And this golden pocket starts at approximately 48,000. So we're actually just underneath the golden pocket, and it goes all the way up towards around 50,000. And so basically in that price range right there, in between 48K to 50K, we should expect decent resistance, significant resistance for Bitcoin, and also based on previous resistance that we saw back here in around April 2022. And now, considering the fact that that's really the final significant previous high in the price of Bitcoin, other than the all-time high itself, on a technical level, that means that should be the final significant level of resistance before potentially heading towards all-time highs. Because usually, if we drop quickly in the price of Bitcoin in a certain price range, that usually translates to the price of Bitcoin moving quickly in the other direction when we're trending in the other direction in that same price range. But obviously, before we can get to that final home run towards the all-time high, once again, we still have to pass this significant area of resistance in between around 48 to 50K. And now we do technically have the 78.6% Fibonacci level of resistance sitting at around 57 to 58K. So of course, we could find some short-term resistance around that level if we see a breakout above 50K first. But ultimately, that short-term resistance at around 57 to 58,000 should not be as significant as this resistance at around 48,000. And so that's basically the situation on the much larger timeframes. Obviously, we're still within the much larger bullish trend, as I've been saying for over a year. And right now, we are running into significant resistance. But overall, we're looking more bullish than bearish. And if we're taking a look at the 12-hour Bitcoin chart, obviously, we've seen another significant bounce from this level of support, which right now is sitting at around 42.9K. But now that the price of Bitcoin has actually broken out above this area of resistance, this should now act as new support, which, by the way, this area of resistance is sitting in between around 44.3K, going up towards around 44.7K, once again acting as new support. And we should also expect some short-term support around this previous high right here, which is sitting at around 45,500 if you're looking at the 4-hour candle closes, or if you're looking at the candle wicks, it's sitting closer towards around 46k, once again acting as support. And so far we have retested that level and bounced from that level, confirming it as support. But even though we do have short-term support right here, obviously we do also have a short-term bearish divergence here just on the 4-hour time frame. And so technically speaking, the bearish divergence here in the short term means that we're due to see reduced bullish momentum potentially over the next 1 to 2 days in the form of either choppy sideways price action or possibly a slight cool-off in the price of Bitcoin. But it is important to understand that this bearish divergence right here could very easily invalidate if we simply break out above this previous high in the price or in the RSI. That could invalidate this bearish divergence. And it's also important to understand that we're potentially around a day away from spot Bitcoin ETFs getting approved within the US, which would be extremely bullish for Bitcoin if they do actually get approved. Obviously, it's not guaranteed, but based on multiple sources, it's very likely that spot Bitcoin ETFs could be approved very soon, likely within the next 24 to 48 hours. And so obviously, if the spot Bitcoin ETFs do get approved tomorrow, then obviously this short-term bearish divergence on the 4-hour chart is not really going to mean much for the price of Bitcoin if hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, are flowing into Bitcoin, buying up a lot of Bitcoin. Obviously, this small bearish divergence is not going to do much in that scenario. And so once again, overall, we're currently looking more bullish than bearish, which means we have more bullish factors right now than bearish factors. And if we're taking a look at the 1-hour Bitcoin chart, just over the last 1 day, we have perfectly hit this technical price target for this previous symmetrical triangle pattern, which technically invalidated, but that price target was sitting at around 47.2k approximately. And now, once again, as I said in my last video, technically speaking, that previous triangle pattern right here did invalidate with a short-term break to the downside after we first broke out to the upside. But like I said 2 videos ago on the channel, I entered a long position right around here. And like I confirmed in my last video, when the price was right around here, I said I still have that long position open. I'm still very bullish on the price of Bitcoin in the short term. And obviously, you can see what has happened since then. And so as of right now, I have actually taken a small amount of profits off the table because we did hit that previous technical price target at around 47.2k. So I closed a small amount of that long position at roughly around 47,000. And so basically, if we crash right now, I've already taken some profits off the table. And also I have my stop loss for this trade sitting in profits above my entry price. So in the worst case scenario, I'm still making profits from this trade. But obviously I have the remainder of that trade still open, the rest of the trade that I did not close yet. And so obviously if we continue further to the upside, I just continue to profit. And in that scenario, if we continue further to the upside, obviously I'll just continue moving my stop loss slowly further into profits. And so if we eventually reverse, or when we eventually see some sort of decent pullback, obviously that will just hit my stop loss and close the trade automatically in massive profits. And if you want to take trades just like this in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto asset, personally I take these trades over on Bybit, so I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below to make a Bybit account, you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you could not access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link to make a Bitflex account and deposit $100 worth of crypto or more and to make one trade over on Bitflex, then you can get 10 USDT completely for free. And so if you're trading crypto anyway, or if you're preparing to take the next trade, you might as well get set up or ready to go on one of those exchanges using those links down below this video if you want to get those extra bonuses. And now taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, and over the last 1 day, the price of Bitcoin continued further to the upside towards those liquidity zones, exactly as predicted, as I've been talking about over the last few days. And as for the new areas of liquidity right now in the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we do actually have a small amount of liquidity beginning to build up at around 47.4k approximately. And so it's likely that in the short term, sometime soon, we could potentially see a quick spike up towards around 47.4k. And now we do also have a level level of liquidity to the downside at around 44.6k, but considering that that is further away from the current price of Bitcoin compared to that liquidity at around 47.4k, obviously it's technically more likely that we move closer towards the closer liquidity first. And if we're taking a look at the ETH to US dollar chart on the daily time frame, right now this bearish divergence is technically still active. So unlike Bitcoin, the bearish divergence on the daily time frame is still playing out here for the price of ETH. Because right now, if you're looking at the daily Ethereum price oscillators, at least for now, these are still showing a lack in bullish momentum. They are simply looking very neutral, if not bearish at the moment, which is why we've been seeing a lot of choppy sideways price action and short-term pullbacks here and there in the price of ETH, which obviously are the most common outcomes from a bearish divergence. But we still have this Fibonacci level of support at around 2190 and this Fibonacci level of support at around 2040, and we also have this previous area of resistance now acting as new support, sitting in between around 2.1k to 2150. And so basically right now in the short term, the price of ETH is chopping around sideways between these highs where the bearish divergence is sitting at and these areas of support. But believe it or not, you can make a lot of easy profits in choppy sideways price action just like this. And if you want to know how to do that, then stick around to the end of this video to find out more. But first, zooming into the short term, looking at the 4-hour time frame. And right now, as I'm recording this video, the price of ETH perfectly broke out to the upside from this level of resistance right here, which was a double bottom pattern or a W pattern. And so like I said in my last video, if we confirm a breakout above this resistance, which was sitting at around 2275, then in that case, we'll likely see the price of ETH head up towards around 2360, which is where we have a technical price target. And we saw pretty much exactly that to the nearest dollar. And so obviously, even with the short-term reversal from that price target right now, if you simply took that long position from the breakout to the price target and closed the position around the price target, or if you have your stop loss moving further into profits as the position moves further into profits, obviously, even with this quick reversal right now, that could still have been a very profitable long position. But obviously, right now, this pattern has already completed. It's already played out. We have indeed hit the technical price target. And basically, the moment we hit that technical price target, we quickly reversed and we have now broken back below this previous level of resistance. And now, one of the reasons as to why Ethereum has been a lot weaker than Bitcoin in the short term is obviously due to the fact that the spot Bitcoin ETFs are potentially coming very soon, whereas the spot ETH ETFs are really not anywhere close. But just to speculate, it's likely that after the spot Bitcoin ETFs get approved, obviously we could see a short-term pump and things like that, but after eventually that hype begins dying down, obviously the crypto market's going to start looking at the next narrative. And so once the spot Bitcoin ETFs get approved potentially very soon, then it's likely that market participants could start looking towards the potential next spot ETF that could get approved, which could be a spot ETH ETF, a spot Ethereum ETF, after the spot Bitcoin ETFs first get approved. And so essentially right now, a lot of the focus is really on Bitcoin, which is why Bitcoin is performing a lot better than Ethereum. But a lot of that performance, in my opinion, is based around the ETFs and also the Bitcoin halving only 3 months away. But once those things begin dying down and we start looking at the next narrative, that is potentially where Ethereum could begin outperforming Bitcoin. And so at least as of right now, we just have to understand that Ethereum is simply looking weaker than Bitcoin in the short term as of right now. And so ultimately, I am expecting a lot of choppy sideways price action, which once again, you can still make a lot of money from if you stick around to the end of this video. But right now, these other levels of support and resistance have not changed since my last video. So check out my last video if you want to know more about those levels of support and resistance. And this short-term bullish divergence is technically still active here on the 4-hour time frame. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana against the US dollar here on the 3-day time frame, we're still playing out that rejection. We're still sitting below that significant resistance at around $120. But obviously here on the 3-day time frame, this is just a minor pullback within a much larger bullish trend, at least as of right now, because at least for now, we're still technically forming significant higher lows and higher highs here in the price of Solana on the larger time frames. And so obviously the larger trend at play is still currently bullish, even though we have run into significant resistance and we are seeing a bit of a rejection from that resistance in the short term, which obviously resulted in a bit of a short-term bearish trend. And so once again, it's important to understand the difference between the different time frames. Obviously on this 4-hour time frame, we can be within a bearish trend, but if you zoom out to a larger time frame, we can be within a bullish trend. But once again, as I've been talking about over the last few days, we're currently seeing a bit of a short-term bounce from this short-term bearish trend. So technically we have not invalidated the short-term bearish trend, but we are seeing a bounce within that trend, kind of like what we saw just here. And once again, there was two major reasons that I talked about recently on the channel that was resulting in the price of Solana bouncing, which was the fact that the price ran into this significant level of support, which was sitting at around $85.50. And at the same time as the price running into this golden pocket in the short term, we were also running into oversold territories here on the 4-hour Solana RSI. And so once again, those two signals combined resulted in a short-term bounce in the price of Solana. And right now, technically, this bounce can still continue, but it's currently slowing down. Because technically, as the RSI approaches overbought territories, that means we have somewhat limited room to the upside. So obviously, we could go a little bit higher, but as once again, we approach overbought territories, we have limited room to the upside. And as for resistance in the price, we should expect resistance at around $108. And above that, we have more resistance at around $115 to $116 before running into that significant resistance that I mentioned earlier in the video. And so that's basically the situation right now. Once again, we're still in a larger bullish trend, but a short-term bearish trend, which is basically a short-term pullback within the larger bullish trend. But either way, whether the price is bullish, bearish, or simply chopping around sideways, you can make a lot of money in crypto in either of those scenarios by watching these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can long or short crypto to make money if the price is bullish or bearish, and the video in the bottom left is the video you should watch because that shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video.